Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of the great millstone. Peace and salutations unto the Akiam, the brothers, pushing this truth through the four corners of the earth in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. To the scattered, the speckled Israelites who be scattered among the heathen, I say Shalom, and I say Shalom unto the few and faithful Akwat, the sisters. The few sisters listening and learning. This is your brother Yerushalayim from the GMS Prophetic Vibrations Camp out of Trinidad and Tobago, coming at you with another video through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash. Now this video will be entitled The Law and Children. Alright? Because especially now, now that we're getting close to Jacob's trouble, alright, now that a lot of people are waking up to the truth. We basically telling everybody, about the mark of the beast, about the job, all right. And a lot of people are waking up, and knowing that they are Israelites, all right. But knowing that Israel is not enough, all right. They have to fear the Lord, and in fearing the Lord, they have to obey what His laws, all right. Because we have an everlasting covenant with Him, all right. Which is lasts from generation to generation, and so, with that said, is knowing the law and doing the law is a whole other thing, and that's what we have to do. Even though we been under grace, all right, all right. So with that said, we're gonna go to Psalms 19, all right, starting from verse 7. All right, it reads, "The law of the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is sure, making wise the simple." Because the law is life, right? The law is wisdom itself, right? So you get wise when you follow the law, and that was our wisdom in the sight of the nations, right? When you go back to we believe is Deuteronomy 7. Let me see. Let's go to Deuteronomy 4. Yeah, Deuteronomy 4 and verse 5 says, "Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as Yahweh my power commanded me." This is Moses speaking, "that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, Surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people." Right? "For what nation is there so great, who hath the Most High so nigh unto them, as Yahweh our power is in all things that we call upon Him for?" So you see, that's the laws of our wisdom. All right. So that's a cool cut for these foolish brothers, former brothers, who claiming that the law is done away with. All right. You don't have to follow the law anymore. All right. So Psalm 19. Okay, let's read this over. Psalm 19 and 7. "The law of the Lord is perfect, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple." The statutes of Yahweh are right, rejoicing the heart, right, the mind. And the commandment of Yahweh is pure, enlightening the eyes. Right? So that's what the Lord does for us. The fear of Yahweh is clean. Right? And the fear of the Lord will lead to what? Your obedience to the law. When you fear the Lord, you're going to obey. All right? "Enduring forever, the judgments of Yahweh are true and righteous altogether." Yeah, the law is pure. Right? "More to be desired are they than gold, yea, than much fine gold, sweeter also than honey and the honeycomb." Right? So that's how the word is. It's sweet. All right? That word is sweet. I can't remember. I think it was the prophet Ezekiel. When he ate the word, it was sweet in his mouth like honey, but bitter in his stomach, because this the prophecy in this word, and about mourning, lamentation, and woe. That's what this word is about. All right. But it's also teach you wisdom and life. All right. Teach you how to live. All right. Verse 11 says, "Moreover, by them is thy servant warned." Yeah, and that's where the prophecy come in. That's when the men of the Lord come in, teaching this word, prophesying and warning the nation of Israel, and those the elect, those who will come back to Him. "And in keeping of them there is great reward, and that reward is everlasting life." All right. because it's true we be saved by faith, by grace, through faith. All right, we saved, but at the end of the day, that doesn't disannul the law. All right, so we're gonna go to Romans. I'm just going through these basic scriptures because, especially now, a lot of wicked brothers, even in Trinidad here, popping up and saying that we do have to follow the law. The law is done away with. You don't need the law, and all this sort of nonsense, right? So that's why I'm going through these precepts, right? This is Romans 3 and verse 31. Do we then make void the law through faith? Yahweh forbid. Yea, we establish the law. Yeah, we establish the law because even though we know we can't keep the law perfectly in this place, that's the law is the right way of living. So we strive to perfection. Even though all our works are as filthy rags, we still strive for the perfection. We still strive to obey the law. All right, because really and truly we've been in one way or fashion or form we've broken the law. All right, and we deserve death because even like breaking the Sabbath is the penalty is death. But we under grace right now. All right, so we that doesn't mean because you're under grace, that they're gonna do evil. All right, so let's go to Romans 6 and verse I think verse 15. Verse 14. All right, for sin shall not have dominion over you, for ye are not under the law but under grace. Right, so we're under grace, right? But hear this: what then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law? Right, so these former brothers, I don't even want to call them brothers, right? What then? Was they broke out of this thing, they put their hand down from the plow. What then shall we sin because we are not under the law but under grace? Yahweh forbid. Right, Yahweh forbid. Yahweh forbid. Verse 16, know ye not that to whom ye yield yourselves servants to obey? Even the Most High, his servants ye are to whom ye obey, whether of sin unto death or of obedience unto righteousness. So, and it is clear, all right? It can't be lukewarm, you're either hot or cold. You're either on one side of the fence or the other. And these laws were given to Moses by the Most High. All right? And what's sin? When you think about sin, what is sin? Sin is transgression of the law. I wasn't going to go so deep, but in the spirit, I'm going to go there. This is 1 John 3 and 4. All right? It says, whosoever committed sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. All right? So this is nonsense. What is people talking about, right? Sin is transgression of the law, and the wages of sin is death. All right? It is written. All right? So there you have it. So now I'm going to go into children, because the Lord gave us children as an inheritance, as a blessing. All right? But when they really go into it, if you don't instruct your child properly, there's going to be destruction. So let's start off with some scriptures in the Psalms. Psalm 127 and verse 3. It reads, lo, children are an heritage unto Yahweh, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. Right? So the children are the reward of the Lord. The fruit of the womb is his reward. Right? As a blessing. And so Yahweh Hashem Yahushai unto the parents. Alright? As arrows are in the hand of a mighty man, so are the children of his youth. Yeah, and arrows means what I think in the book of Ecclesiasticus, Sirach 30, it talks about he had leave one, just roughly paraphrasing, he left an avenger against he left behind an avenger against his enemies. Alright? Because when you teach a child up properly in the right way, your child is going to hate wickedness, hate your enemies. So that's the importance of teaching your children the law, teaching them righteousness. Alright? As arrows are in the hand of a mighty man, so are the children of his youth. Happy is the man that hath his quiver full of them. They shall not be ashamed, but they shall speak with the enemies in the gate. So, and his quiver, when he says quiver full of them, he's not talking about unrighteous and wicked children. We're talking about righteous children. Children that profitable, godly children, godly sons. Alright? Because they aim like an army for righteousness and for protection. That was what his father the father stood for. Alright? So now we're gonna go to the Apocrypha, Sirach 16. So let's get this up. It's giving some trouble here. Let's start it over. So Sirach 16, start at verse 1. It reads, "Desire not a multitude of unprofitable children, neither delight in ungodly sons." Right? Because a child, a child well instructed, a child or not well instructed could become a monster, a wicked man or woman when they grow up. Some people think it's cute, to be laughing at when your child do wrongdoing, right, and not teaching them properly, and be already under the curses. Some parents are children themselves and never learn properly. All right, so they grown up monsters. They seen these people killing one another, all right, hating one another, doing all this sort of stuff, right, breaking the laws, adulterous, right, because Lord called us an adulterous generation, all right, and that's what it is, all right. So desire not a multitude of unprofitable children, neither delight in ungodly sons. Though they multiply, rejoice not in them, except the fear of the Lord be with them. And the fear of the Lord leads to what? Obedience to the law, obedience to what? The righteousness, and it leads to wisdom too. All right, it leads to wisdom and life. All right, because the wages of sin is death. So they wouldn't sin like that. If you have the law inside of you, because in the new kingdom, the law is going to be written in our minds, so we will never be going off one again. All right. Verse 3 says, "Trust not thou in their life, neither respect their multitude." Yeah, no respect because they have a big number, but they're wicked, right? "For one that is just is better than 1,000." So one just son is better than 1,000. "And better it is to die without children than to have them that are ungodly." And the scripture says, verse 4 says, "For by one that hath understanding shall the city be replenished, but the kindred of the wicked shall speedily become desolate." And we saw that with Moses, right? Because the Lord was going to kill the whole nation of Israel and repopulate Israel through Moses. The Lord could do that, right? So there's nothing to boast about the multitude of children that you have, but make sure your children grow up sound in what? The law, in righteousness. And in order for your children to grow up sound, you have to teach your children, right? You have to teach your children. What does the word say? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 6, because the Lord said to teach your children and teach them what? Diligently. To do what? Obey the law. Alright? This is Deuteronomy 6 and verse 1. "Now these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments, which Yahweh your power commanded to teach you, that ye might do them in the land whither you go to possess it, that thou mightest fear Yahweh thy power, to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee, thou and thy son and thy son's son." So how are we going to pass that down? They're not just going to learn it like that. First of all, you have to do it. Not be seen, not just to tell them to do it, but they have to see you doing it. Because children learn by seeing their parents. Alright? So you have to learn the law and do it. Alright? And then that will be a generational blessing coming on the line. Everybody teaching their son. The generations, right? "And thy son and thy son's son all the days of thy life." Right? So that's be commanded to follow this all the days of our life, and that thy days may be prolonged, because there's blessings in even the commandments. When honoring your father and your mother is a blessing of a long life. Alright? This verse 3 says, Hear therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with thee, and that ye may increase mightily, as Yahweh power of thy fathers hath promised thee." So the promise that the Lord gave, in the land that flowed with milk and honey. And if you go back to Deuteronomy 28, that was the promise, that was the word that Moses gave to the children of Israel. Blessings if you obey, verse 1 to 14, and curses if you disobey, verse 15 to 16, and which is why we in this state, we didn't obey. Okay? So especially when you come in this truth, it's essential to teach your children, and you'll do the right things, so you'll inherit blessings. Alright, verse 4 says, "Hear, O Israel, Yahweh your power is one Lord." Alright? "And thou shalt love the Lord with the Lord Yahweh thy power with all thine heart, with all thine soul, and with all thy might." So you have to teach your children the same thing from young. Don't leave them to the ways of their own ways, or the ways of this world. You teach them. Alright? "And thy words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart." Alright? And verse 7 reads, alright, it reads, "And thou shalt teach them diligently." And we're going to look up this word diligently, because You know, and you say the Lord is the rewarder of those that diligently seek Him. So when by teaching your children diligently seeking Him, all right, you know, you're teaching them diligent. Let's go to meaning.
Diligent.
It means having or showing care and conscientiousness in one's work or duties. Industrious, hardworking, assiduous, conscientious, particular, meticulous, exacting, attentive, studious, so earnest. So you have to be driven. You have to be zealous in teaching your children righteousness. All right. You have to be zealous and diligently hardworking and teaching in your children. For thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children the laws and the statutes we're talking about here. And shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thy house. Alright, so when you sit down and relaxing, and when thou walkest by the way, when you're walking with them anywhere you're going, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. So every time you're supposed to be teaching your children. Alright? Once you're around them, you're teaching them the law, the statutes, righteousness. So that's how powerful the law is. That's how important the law is. Alright? That's how important the law is. There's no getting around that. There's no getting around that. And let me just quickly go to Psalms 77 and verse 12. It reads, I will meditate also in all thy work and talk of thy doings. So this is who you're talking to your children, right? To everybody and your children as well, right? Because, you know, in this truth, you know, we men of the Lord, the most of us who have children in this thing, we have a duty not just to preach to our brothers and sisters outside, but, you know, charity begins at home. We have to teach our own children, and that's something that sometimes is left neglected. All right, and we have to deal with it. All right, as men of the Lord, we have to deal with this too. All right, so I will meditate also in all thy work and talk of thy doings. Thy way, O power, is in the sanctuary. Who is so great a power as our power? All right, you know, so, you know, there's no power greater than our power. So we have to talk about Him in our family first too. You know, that's important. All right, and most of all, even us as men of the Lord, being on the highways and byways, we might not have time to do it. And that's where teaching your wife and having a proper woman, a proper wife, is a blessing in this thing, because she'll be the one to teach your children when you can't, right? Because a woman's duty is to a household, taking care of your children, you know, taking care of the household. So that's the importance of having a woman in this truth, a dedicated sister, a true aquat in this truth, alright? You know, because that's an utterly essential and important duty, alright? And people like to talk about, you know, the duty of a woman is nothing. A duty of a woman is different to a man, but it's very important too. So, you know, women shouldn't feel left out. All right. Let me read Psalms 78, verse 4 to 7. Verse 4 reads, we will not hide them from their children, because we have to teach them the law, showing to the generation to come the praises of Yahweh and His strength and His wonderful works that He had done. For He established a testimony in Jacob, right? And appointed a law in Israel, which He commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children. Alright, so it's clear here. We have to make these things known to our children. You know? Verse 6 reads, that the generation to come might know them, even the children which should be born, who should arise and declare them to their children. So it's a generational thing. We have to teach from generation to generation. That's our command. Alright? Alright? That they might set their hope in Yahweh and not forget the works of the Most High, but keep His commandments. Alright? Verse 8 read, and might not be as their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that set not their heart aright, and whose spirit was not steadfast with the Most High. So we in this truth, you know, we hopefully we have to teach this to our children, you know, so we wouldn't be like their fathers, you know, wouldn't be rebellious and stubborn, you know, and wouldn't turn back like the 2/3 who wouldn't turn back to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, although, you know, men of the Lord preaching on the highways and byways. Alright, you know, so they wouldn't be wicked. So that's how essential this is. All right, let me go to book of Proverbs chapter 28 verse 7, because this is vitally important. Again, Proverbs 28 and 7 says, whoso keepeth the law is a wise son. All right, so a wise son will keep the law. All right, but he that is a companion of riotous men shameth his father. You know, and it don't make sense. You know, let's go into that word riotous. You know, riotous.
Strong's H2151. Zalal. Zalal.
It means to be worthless, be vile, be insignificant, be light. Right? To make light of, squander. Right? So he that is in the companion of a worthless men shameth his father. Alright, men who break in the law, wicked men. Alright? But he that by usury and unjust gain increaseth his substance, he will gather it for him that will pity the poor. Alright? You know? So, you know, you increase your substance not for yourself, you know, in vain. Alright, verse 9 says, he that turneth away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer shall be abomination. So all these brothers who turn away their ear away from the law and say the law, the law was done away with, you know, their prayers are abomination to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Right? You know? So, you know, and I'm going to read verse 10 too, because as for these wicked former brothers who drop out of this thing, whoso causeth the righteous to go astray in an evil way, he shall fall himself into his own pit, but the upright shall have good things in possession. So that's the judgment for you there, who say the law done away with. Alright? You know, yeah, and you know, beside that, getting back to the point, you teach your children the fear of the Lord, you know, which is wisdom, which leads to wisdom, right? You teach them the fear of the Lord, which leads to wisdom, and that's the importance in this thing. Alright? Loving the Lord. Let's go back to Sirach 1, verse 20. Alright? The root of wisdom is to fear the Lord, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, and the branches thereof are long life. So it's a simple equation. You know, you fear the Lord. You know, fear the Lord equals wisdom plus long life. Right? Right? Verse 21 reads, the fear of the Lord, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, driveth away sins, and where it is present, it turneth away wrath, which is death, because wages of sin is death. So, you know, you'll be pardoned for fearing Yahweh Hashem Yahushai and obeying him, obeying his laws. Right? We're going to go back to Proverbs. Let's go back to Proverbs 9 and verse 10. It reads, the fear of Yahweh is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding. So that's the fear of the Lord. So when you teach your child the fear of the Lord from early, guess what? Your son and your daughter are going to be wise, you know, and in knowledge, and they will have understanding, you know, which means they can apply that wisdom to their life. You know, not just going to know it, but they're going to apply it. You know, and getting into the laws now, you know, especially now, you have a lot of children who be dishonoring their parents, right? You know, so really and truly, you know, these children, you have to teach them the whole law, right? Or the whole Torah, all right? All the laws, all right? 10 commandments and the rest of the 613 laws, all right? Because what did the Lord say? And a powerful one is this, and this is something that these children have no respect for anymore. This is Matthew chapter 15 and verse 4. It reads, this is red writing, so this is Yahushai. For the Most High commanded, saying, honor thy father and mother, and he that curseth father and mother, let him die the death. Alright, so that's how important it is. You know, if you curse your parents, it's death. Alright, and Apostle Tar went in that video, you know, talking about the young man who killed his mother, you know, allegedly killed his mother. Alright, you know, so, you know, wages of his sin is death. Alright, let's go to Colossians chapter 3 and verse 20. It reads, children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well pleasing unto the Lord. Alright, so you children have to obey their parents in all things, so you have to make sure your children respect you, because your children are not going to learn from you if they don't respect you. Alright, and how they respect you, they see you doing what you're teaching them. Alright, so that's how you get your children to listen. Alright, they'll look at you and use you as a role model. Alright, let's go to Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 1. It reads, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Right? Honor thy father and mother, which is the first commandment, with promise that it may be well with thee, and thou mayest live long on earth. So that's how powerful it is. Verse 4 says, and ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath. Right? So you don't do that, show love, right? A man mustn't be a lion in his house. Alright? But bring them up in the nurture to nurture something. When we go into this word nurture, let's go into that word nurture. Alright? Nurture means the whole training. Let's go to here first.
Strong's G 3809. Paideia.
The whole training and education of children, which relates to cultivation of the mind and morals, right, and employs for this purpose now commands and admonitions, now reproof and punishment. So it includes the training and the care of the body here, which is the law. Law tells you how to teach care of your body, instruct in your mind, and admonition, rebuke and reproof, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. So nurture and admonition of the Lord, is that's going into the law, right? Verse 5 said, servants, be obedient to them that are your masters according to the flesh. And this goes into parent-child relationship as well, with fear and trembling in the singleness of heart, as unto your Mashiach. So that's what children ought to obey their parents according to the flesh too. Alright? And that's so powerful. Can't get over that. Alright? Can't get over that. Okay? So teach your children the whole law. Alright? Because, alright, it's like Yahweh himself was the father of spirits, and he would rebuke and reprove his children. Some people out there, they don't want to do that. They believe it's just all nice, laugh at them when they do wrongdoing. It's just speak to them alone. Parents, children disrespecting their parents. And they wouldn't pull them up. They wouldn't reproof them. Alright? And that's part of the ministry too. Reproofing your own children. This Isaiah 53 and verse 10, because the Lord himself, Yahweh, the father of spirits, it pleased him to bruise Yahweh Shai. Isaiah 53 and 10 says, yet it pleases him, the Most High, to Yahweh, to bruise him. He hath put him to grief. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed, he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of Yahweh shall prosper in his hand. But the point is, it pleased the father to bruise him. Alright? And every father must chastise the children. Same way how the Lord said, the Lord chastises his sons. When we go to the book of Hebrews chapter 12, verse 7, right? Let's read from verse 5. Hebrews 12 and 5, and ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. For the Lord loveth, he chasteneth and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. So all of us had to get that, right? If ye endure chastising, the Most High dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chastiseth not? Right? But if you be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards and not sons. So that's it. Verse 9 says, furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh which corrected us, and we gave them reverence. Shall not we much rather be on subjection unto the Father of spirits and live? So this is just point is showing how we have been corrected by our fathers in the flesh, and that's the essential thing for the men in this work, and the hopefully elect to do their children. And if they're going off, chastise them. That's the Lord, part of the law too. Alright? Because the punishment and the righteous indignation is important. Just how the Lord has that punishment and righteous indignation for us. Micah 7 and 9 says we bear the indignation of the Lord. Alright? until he rise up for us. Right? The punishment and righteous indignation is very important. It's to mold the children just like the Lord molding us, through the fire of adversity. So this is your duty before the Lord. Besides preaching the word. Alright, I'm gonna go through some precepts in Sirach, and then I'm gonna close this out. Sirach 30, I believe. Sirach 30, verse 1. It reads, "He that loveth his son causeth him often to feel the rod, that he may have joy of him in the end. He that chastiseth his son shall have joy in him, and shall rejoice of him among his acquaintance." So you see, when they chastise his son, you beat him for what? For breaking the laws and doing what was wrong, sin. "He that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy, and before his friends he shall rejoice of him. Though his father die, yet he is as though he were not dead." Right? Because his son continued in the same righteous way. "For he had left one behind him that is like himself. While he lived, he saw and rejoiced in him, and when he died, he was not sorrowful." So that's how powerful it is. Alright? "He left behind him an avenger against his enemies, the one that shall requite kindness to his friends." So such a blessed thing to have a righteous son and daughter. Alright? "He that maketh too much of his son shall bind up his wounds." Yeah, because if you're boasting about your child and his son, you end up destroying him. Right? "And his bowels will be troubled at every cry." Yeah. "And horse not broken becometh headstrong." So if you don't teach them the law and chastise them when they break it, they become headstrong. "And a child left to himself will be willful." And when you're willful, you do what? You sin. That's how Israel was, stubborn, right? Stubborn and sinful, "Cocker my child, and he shall make thee afraid. Play with him, and he shall bring thee heaviness." Yeah, don't laugh at him and cocker him, and don't do that. Don't do that. Alright? Don't play with him too much too either. Alright? Teach them. This is where we have to be austere men. Right? Austere for our children too. Alright? Verse 10 says, "Laugh not with him, lest thou have sorrow with him, and lest thou gnash thy teeth in the end." Because some of these parents laugh at their children when they try and do wickedness and wrongdoing. If it's a joke. Right? Verse 11 says, "Give him no liberty in his youth, and wink not at his follies." Alright, same thing I was just saying. Encouraging nonsense. Verse 12 says, "Bow down his neck while he is young, and beat him on the sides while he's a child." So you have to use literally beat him. Alright? "Lest he should wax stubborn," because they say spare the rod and spoil the child. That's what we have a saying in Trinidad. Alright? Spare the rod and spoil the child. Right? "Lest he wax stubborn, and he be disobedient unto thee, and so bring sorrow to thine heart." Right? "Chastise thy son, and hold him to labor," which means make sure you learn to work from young. "Lest his lewd behavior be an offense unto thee." Alright? And that's one more precept, and I'll close this out. This is the book of, let's go to Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 19 and verse, I believe it's verse 26. And then he that wasteth his father and chaseth away his mother is a son that causeth shame and bringeth reproach. It says, "Cease, my son, to hear the instruction that causeth err from the words of knowledge." Right? Right? "An ungodly witness scorneth judgment, and the mouth of the wicked devoureth iniquity." Yeah. Judgments are prepared for scorners, and stripes for the back of fools. So all those who scorn this word, all the children who wouldn't listen. Alright? Judgment, as the Lord prescribed, when his son wouldn't listen and he would go be willful and doing wickedness. Alright? As the apostle would have gone through in this video. Alright? Apostle Taha, elder Apostle Taha, they was to take him in front of the Israel, and they stone him till he died. Alright? So that's how powerful the law is, and especially dealing with children. Alright, so I pray that this lesson has been edifying. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai for giving me the spirit to do this video. Wa Abad Babal to Babylon. Shalom.